Hey everybody, I'm really excited to share with you that I've finally started my agorism book. Woot woot! I'm so happy. I'm so happy. And I got my good friend Chard here that I'm sharing the glory with because Chard is awesome and Chard has done quite a good amount to nourish me during these crazy times. So I have a few points. I don't have any video editing software, so I'm just going to go through my points. So things have never been better for agorism. The state is at its least productive that it's been since the Great Depression. People are more open to seeking after alternative ways of doing things than at any time during my lifetime. And people are more against the police than I thought would be possible outside of actually transitioning to the stateless society. So this is all in the popular consciousness right now. There's supply chain disruptions and uncertainty making smaller businesses more open to dealing with the stateless society, which is super cool. People have demonstrated they're capable of large-scale change with virtually no notice on a massive scale, right? Which makes it much more likely that there are great prospects for transitioning slowly into a stateless society, a peaceful transition, rather than a sudden large-scale change. And even going so far as to completely invert medical procedures from what they were before, which was quarantines were used for the sick, and now they're being done for the well. I think that's very keen contrast to understand how things have been all over before compared to now. People have gone along with this on a massive scale, so they have this ability. People have this ability to completely change their outlook and completely flip their perspective on what it was before, which means that this is such great prospects because that means people are much more likely to flip from being theoretically supporting some violence in some contexts to supporting no violence in any contexts. And most importantly, within the stateless society, there's never been more networked, coordinated, and privacy consciousness. And it's finally socially acceptable for an anti-statist to completely cover their entire bodies, literally masking their biometric data in all contexts, and nobody will think twice about that of anyone doing that anywhere in the world. And that's really cool, huh? So at the same time that the surveillance state has been increasing to the largest degree, at the same time, it's also never been easier to evade it. So we've got, like, in 2020, we have had all of these things happening. And I'm here taping at the very last, videoing at the very last time of the day in 2020. It's like the last day of 2020 right now. And what else do I have here? Okay, it's so important for us to take advantage of the situation while it's still in popular consciousness and to strike while the iron is hot. And so after putting it off for years, I finally, because of so few of my friends being willing to meet, at least those that are still in town, and my work opportunities being paltry until recently, thankfully, I'm going to be moving soon to finally work in my chosen field and begin my career. And I'm at the cusp of starting my own business now. And so basically because of all those things, I finally started writing my book. This is the book in the Essential Strategy Questions for video that I made, 9 years ago, I guess now. I mentioned this stuff in that book, and the project that I was working on, I'm kicking off with this book that I'm writing. It's for all my fellow anti-statists. All my fellow agorists. There's concentric circles expanding outward, but it's mainly for my fellow agorists. So I'm posting all the links for this book in the description of the video. I want to post the rough draft version of the book, and I'm putting it open for critique. So anyone who has any constructive criticisms on how to better communicate or any questions that they have, please comment on the posts. So at the same time that all of these wonderful opportunities have taken place, we've also had an ever-increasing amount of nationalism, authoritarianism, central planning, mass surveillance, and they're all at an all-time high. And it can go either way now, either toward totalitarianism or toward total freedom of choice without hindrance. And we are now at that decision point. And depending on what we agorists do, we can either transition to a stateless society, if we keenly leverage agorist strategy. Otherwise, if we just do our own little agorist experiments, mostly by ourselves in our own little corners of the world, well, in not too many years, we'll be slammed down by totalitarian inescapability, which is something that I'm not looking forward to. On the other hand, if we always and only act completely strategically with sound standards of measure, it can only take, and here I've worded it very, very vaguely because I don't remember the exact calculation that's going to be in the book. It can only take 3 digits worth of people, a single digit's worth of years to complete a transition to a stateless society. Now, if I remember rightly, the figures that I had calculated were it could take 1,000 dedicated strategists 15 years to transition to a stateless society, or it can take 500 keenly minded strategists, very, very keen in their strategic application, only 5 years to transition to a stateless society. Now, when I say 5 years, I mean once we get to 501 people, it'll be 5 years after that the transition will be completed. And once we get to 1,001 people, it'll be 15 years after that, if they're not quite so keen in their application of strategy. But those are the people who I'm mainly writing the book for. The people I'm mainly writing this book for are those 500 to 1,000 people somewhere in the world. Maybe it was 2,000 people, I don't remember. But I do know that the smallest calculation I had was 500 people over 5 years. And I'm using very conservative figures from non-controversial examples in history, recent history, that demonstrate these things. And they're all going to be in the book, and they're all open for critique. Please make your contribution. This is going to be a really fun book to write and apply. And I don't even know how this is going to be received. But I, for one, really don't like the fact that we're still living in a violently monopolized society. I definitely want to be in a completely stateless society, and I'm willing to do what it takes myself to accomplish that. The thing is, we'd have to be networked strategically together and not really care what each of us are individually doing during that transition period to achieve this, meaning that you shouldn't care what anyone else is doing, and you also shouldn't care what you're doing. What's most important is that you're using comprehensive strategy in your chosen field, and then the specific tasks that you do, that's what you're not to care about. Because what matters is the strategic transition to a stateless society. After that, then all of us can do anything that we want to, because we won't have to worry about whether or not we'll be smacked down, or people will end up being skeptical about this. But again, people are much more open to seeking after alternatives now than ever. So we need to leverage this while we can, because it's not going to be that way. It's not going to be that popular forever. So I go into details about this in the book. Read it, spread it around in your agorist circles, give me some feedback so I can make a good first edition. So this is going to be all rough draft that I'm going to be posting, because I want it out there as soon as possible. I'll be posting the rough draft soon. I'll post more videos about this project eventually. This is just an initial announcement. I'll post the places I'm going to be updating the various elements of the book in the description to this video. The book is divided into 5 major parts with a narrative story paralleling a prose action guide. So yeah, it's going to be a fictional story that is kind of an extended metaphor of all the things that are going on in the prose section of the book. It's sort of like a storybook combined with a business book combined with a how-to guide, all designed for my fellow agorists. I'm mainly writing it for myself. I'm the kind of person that needs to have everything put together and have like a simple step-by-step program that I myself can use and that I'm completely confident in, because I'm writing it. This is my best understanding at this time. And I'll end with a reflection about this year. Just like in the war on terror, it's now non-controversial to say that it was just special interests of defense contractors that were being leveraged, and that's what the wars were mainly fought regarding. Well, likewise, it should not be controversial now to identify that Big Pharma and Big Agra have been the primary people to benefit financially from all these shutdowns, from all the testing going on everywhere, from all of the mask manufacturing, and all those kinds of things. All these special interests have profited greatly from this stuff. People, unlike me, who is eating wild chard, foraged from the wilderness, other people are eating far worse than they were before. And you would think that they would want to be taking care of their health. I remember in the early days of the shutdowns, people were talking about people being immunocompromised, and that was the people that were the most at risk, and therefore the need to build up your own immune systems. Now it's all about, well, we got to prevent the spread of this disease, and it's gone from taking care of your health to an inverse quarantine virtually overnight. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if that's the case, then people can go agorist virtually overnight as well. They can completely give up all support of violence against anyone. And that's a far easier thing to overcome. People who are 99% nonviolent can much more easily go the rest of the way than to completely flip your perspective on quarantines. So with Big Pharma and Big Agra at a far greater ascendancy than ever before, those are my two greatest competitors. I'm a forest gardener. It's never been more true this year that hindsight is 2020. The best year to be an agorist in all of human history. May the next year be even better. And I hope this video finds you well. And I'll see you in later videos. Check the description for any and all things related to my agorist project. This is going to be fun.